10th chapter.
Glory to you, Lord.
Jesus said, "Very truly, I tell you, anyone who does not enter the sheepfold by the gate, but climbs in by another way, is a thief and a bandit. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep hear his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes ahead of them, and the sheep follow him because they know his voice. They will not follow a stranger, but they will run from him because they do not know the voice of strangers." Jesus used this figure of speech with them, but they did not understand what he was saying to them. So again, Jesus said to them, "Very truly, I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. All who came before me are thieves and bandits, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters by me will be saved and will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly." The gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Let us pray. I believe, Lord, that you are present.
Although my eyes do not see you, my faith senses you. Take away any stray thoughts from my mind. Make me understand the truth which you wish to teach me in this meditation. Let me make up my mind to put them into practice. Your servant is listening. Speak, Lord, to my soul. Amen.
Please be seated. I'll remain on this side since we are good to have a microphone. That should help us a little this morning. Well, here we are, Good Shepherd Sunday, of course, and just think of it, your Good Shepherd, lowercase, has left the flock and gone down to abide in Christ. I mean, really, what's up with that? Well, you know what's up with that, as I said. This is our Consecration Sunday, and so we're very pleased to have your pastor as our guest down there today. It's very, very, very nice, and it's very nice. I'm very happy to be with you today. Good Shepherd Sunday comes around, as probably you're aware, or might be aware, at least it comes in the spring somewhere. It's actually the fourth Sunday of Easter. And we always have a gospel lesson from the same sort of section in John. It's more familiar to us when we get one of those passages where Jesus says, "I am the good shepherd," right? And that's the one that really speaks to our hearts, and that's why every town, with at least 2 gas stations has 2 Good Shepherd, whatever, church, right? I mean, seriously. It is a very popular name, as you well know, and we don't exactly have a stained glass window. It's not unusual to have a stained glass window with a Good Shepherd and all of that. But today we have "I am the gate," and that is a different image, and not quite, I think, is sort of evocative for us. I've never heard of a, Gate Lutheran Church or something. I am the Gate Church. It doesn't work quite that way. But we do get the image. It is the idea that there is this enclosure and a gate that protects the flock. And Jesus talks today about the legitimate shepherd is the one who comes by the gate. Thieves and bandits crawl over the fence. And it's thought that Jesus is really talking about the early church and about us today and about who ministers in his name. He's telling the flock to be on guard because there are those who would come among us whose sort of object is not to pray with the congregation, but to pray upon it. Trustworthy leaders come through Jesus. The first apartment where my husband Paul and I lived in New Haven, Connecticut, actually, was at the parish house, the church where we were. It was sort of an unusual kind of setting. This church had bought this wonderful big house, a mansion really, and they built their sanctuary and their education building right onto the back of this, in this lovely property. Well, we had an apartment at this parish house. It was actually what had been the carriage house. So it had been converted. There was a chapel downstairs and a little apartment upstairs, and that's where my husband and I were. And this was early on. We did finally, our daughter did come along, but initially we were, newly married. And what did we need before you have a child? A dog. And yes, of course. And this parish was so good to us. The way you got up to our apartment was outside stairs, so you had to open this big wooden gate and then go up these outside stairs to our little apartment. And because we had this dog, the custodian actually built a little enclosure so this dog could go down the steps and around and have his own little private yard in the back. This first dog, Rolf, one of many wonderful dogs, grew to be a very large mutt, and he was happily one of the happiest dogs I've ever known. Rolf loved everybody, which was a good thing because we lived right there at the church. He loved all the parishioners, he loved the children in the preschool, he loved their parents, he loved the delivery men, he loved our friends who came to see us. He loved squirrels, he loved cats, Rolf loved everybody. And one day, I wasn't home, but my husband was, and he hears from the backyard this awful sound. He goes to the window and looks down, and there's a man in this small enclosed yard right alongside the tree. And the guy looks up, and he's terrified because our dog is circling him, and the minute he even looks like he's going to move, the dog raises up on his hind feet and goes nose to nose. Guy says, "Is your dog going to bite?" And my husband very truthfully looked down and said, "I don't know. I don't know. Please call him off." Rolf, here. That dog dropped, but he'd been trained and trotted right over there to the bottom of the steps and sat there waiting for further instructions. Now, what was the difference? The guy did not go through the gate. He had come up alongside the church and crawled over the barricade and put himself in that yard, and the dog knew the difference. As long as that dog lived, he loved it when we told that story. It sort of struck a pose. Rolf the hero dog. Well, Jesus today says very truly, I tell you, anyone who does not enter the sheepfold by the gate, but climbs in by another way, is a thief and a bandit. And Rolf the dog was actually onto something there, because this church is close enough to kind of rougher neighborhoods, even though it was in a lovely neighborhood itself, and there had been a series of break-ins. The dog knew. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. As I said, his teaching is directed to the church. Be on guard, Jesus is saying, for there are those whose purpose is to fleece the sheep. The shepherd, the one worthy of your trust, goes through the gate. And at first glance, it would seem that Jesus is recommending that we be at least as smart as my dog Rolf. But it gets tricky, doesn't it? This advice on how to separate the shepherds from the bandits is not always as easy as it sounds, because this not only includes judging pastors, but all leaders in the church, the programs, the kind of ministry that we are doing in this congregation, and I do mean by that this congregation here in Donaldsville, as well as my congregation in Fairborn. It all requires that sort of critical eye. I'm sure that we are all striving to do our best, but I think we all know that sometimes our best efforts turn out to be rather self-serving sometimes, or worse. Jesus says, I am the gate. And what that means to me is those who want to pass through the way, the door, the gate, which is Jesus, need to form and fashion their lives in the way of Jesus. And this means everybody. It means that book that you buy at the Christian bookstore that tells you God wants you to be rich. You better step back and ask that question. Does what I'm reading in this book sound consistent with the teachings of Christ? Is this lifting up compassion and self-sacrifice? If the Bible study material you order off the internet tells you that what you must do in order to win God's approval or salvation or blessing or whatever else, then you need to step back and ask, does this reflect the way God has shown us unconditional love in Jesus Christ? How do we as a church discern what is true and what way God is leading us? And not only us, but the church at large. There's so many forces at work. We all know this throughout our entire culture that are pushing and pulling the church. The church growth people tell us, change your worship, develop a new mission statement, adopt a new program. There's always kind of a new sort of gadget for the day. But how can we tell the real thing? I'm told that in the art world, ferreting out counterfeits, of course, is the work of specialists, as we might well imagine. Fakes show up in museums and galleries and auction houses all the time. The work of the specialist is to just sort of detect that very small brush stroke, that little hint that would suggest this is a forgery. And the best way is to put a questionable piece of art alongside the work by the same artist, another work by the same artist. And oftentimes that comparison will sort of help reveal which is real. Our gospel is telling us we are to do the same. We must ask of every plan that we develop, every sermon that we hear, every book that we read, every leader who comes before us, does this ministry bear the marks, share the vision, take part in the goals, the ministry of Jesus Christ? I am the gate. In a way, that's a very humble description of who Jesus is. A gate, a door, a passageway is not usually an end in itself. It's something we go through. Looked at one way, Jesus is saying that he is the door that leads to God. The door is not the ultimate destination, it is the way, which is, of course, exactly how Jesus talked about himself in another part of John's Gospel, where he said, I am the way and the truth and the life. And I actually believe that's going to be our gospel for next week. He is the way to God, the way to abundant life, the path to true freedom. Jesus is the means by which we get to God, or maybe the means by which God gets to us. We enter the door to get in the house. We enter the door to come into church today. Again, our church specialists tell us that the most important thing in your church is the door. People guess maybe it's more, how is the altar configured? Where's the baptismal font? No. Actually, the most important thing is your door, because that is where your visitors come through. It's what they're looking for. And I think you are well aware of the challenges you have in your congregation, which is you have two doors. And so you have to probably always be in the lookout, right, for visitors who come forward, because they see some of you slipping in the back and some of you making your way to the front. Where do you go? It's extremely important. Jesus says he is the door. We know that not only did we pass through a door to get into this place, the other thing that we pass through to come into our Christian life is our baptism. That's the door by which we get into the church. Jesus criticized those who tried to get into the sheepfold by any other way than through him. And maybe when we take the name Christian and forget what it means to be baptized, to be called to live as a child of God, then we too are trying to get into the sheepfold by some other way. Jesus said there is no other way. I am the gate. I am the way. It's the shape of Jesus' ministry that distinguished the true sacrifice from sham and thievery in the name of God. It's the free, saving, nourishing character of Jesus' ministry that defines what is real and true and good in the church's life, and what is real and true and good for each one of us. I am the gate, Jesus says, so that the sheep will come in and go out and find pasture, that they may have life and have it abundantly. So may it be for us all. Thanks be to God.